So for my PowerPoint, I did power in teams. So power is defined by the ability of a person to control the outcomes of another person in a relationship. These control mechanisms can be direct or indirect, and unilateral or bilateral. Leaders often become concerned with their power when a group member poses a threat to their leadership and power. So when a member may speak out against the leader or anything, that makes them feel inferior, and so they want to gain back that power. Leaders often have biased views of themselves because often people think that they're better than they are. And so when the only opinion that they're having is of themselves and they're not listening to others and everything, that can be very biased. And then people who lack power are distrustful to those who have power. And people regard power seeking individuals to be unethical and question their motives. So the lack of power, because of the instances where there have been so many instances of people in power taking advantage of that, there's that distrust between the leaders without power or the people without power and the people with power. Then there's power in teams. Power in teams can corrupt social interactions in teams and creates resentment and contention within a team. This is often when people are less likely to speak up when they have an idea or when something is wrong, because people are more tentative because they're scared to speak up. Then members are more likely to compete for power when they feel their resources are in jeopardy. So when something's about to be taken away, they feel that threat, and so they're more likely to compete and speak up and everything like that. And then power can have negative connotations in team settings. So the biggest probably negative connotation is that people in power think that they're better than everyone else. They think that they're invincible and everything like that. And then team members with higher status are apt to command greater respect and possess more prestige and power than those with lower status. This is also a negative connotation. This is often a perceived idea of team members, but is not always the case. Then there's power and conflict. So team power refers to the control of resources that enables a team to influence others in the organization. There's process conflict. Process conflict is higher in higher power teams. Therefore, teams that are higher in power tend to underperform because that conflict, they don't like the competition. They don't like when that power is put above them and it's in their head. Teams with lower power become more constructive when power would not determine victory and the threat of defeat was low. So that threat of losing is often in the back of their mind, so they have that mindset sometimes of, we're already going to lose, so we might as well not put our all in it. When power determines victory and defeat, powerless groups tend to behave more unconstructively. So this often happens with they have lack of communication, and they already feel defeated, so they feel that they don't have to put their all in it, so everything kind of just falls apart sometimes. Then there's power distance, which is the degree to which a person is accepting of an unequal distribution of power. This unequal distribution in leadership is the extent to which a leader expects his or her subordinates to acknowledge a formal power relationship and be more obedient and accepting of the leader's influence. In teams, the team members shared preferences regarding the degree to which their leaders' directives should be respected. Then there's using power. There's the overuse of power, which is the team member uses his or her power to exert influence over most aspects of group functioning and to dominate the team. The powerful team member who uses his or her special status to exert influence hinders the group's effectiveness, because no one wants people to just use their name or their status to be able to run a group and dominate a group. Then there's abdication, which is when people who have an interdependent self-control are more likely to relinquish their power with a group when they believe their own leadership performance is poor, but not if they can blame another person. Lastly, managing the resource, which is the most effective use of power, is the powerful team member influences other members only in the specific domain of his or her special resources. This is leaders communicated a motivating rationale and minimized their status differences. This makes it so other team members have the chance to speak up. So when there's not that clear divide in power, people are more likely to speak up, they're more comfortable. The effects of using power, it enhances role identification. This helps when people believe they have power, they identify more with the role they possess. So it's that same thing as evening it out and trying to make all team members relate as much as possible. Then there's the self-anchoring effect, which is powerful people use themselves as a reference point when judging other internal states, making them less perceptive. There's people with power. People with power are less motivated to scan their environment or process information. They discount advice from others because they have elevated confidence in their own judgments. There's verbal dominance, which reduces team communication and hurts team performance, and also leads to less accurate judgments. Lastly, they're less dependent on others and therefore less motivated to pay attention to the actions of others. The effects of using power continued. People who are powerless have an incentive to carefully attend to those who are in power. Power makes people focus on the positive, rewarding information. Powerful people make more optimistic decisions and worry more if others like them. They also tend to focus on rewards, and powerful leaders may also withhold effort on tasks if they perceive the task unworthy of themselves. So they think they're too good for the work, and so they just don't put in any effort. Resolving disputes, power versus interest. So the power-based approach is the use of force, intimidation, rank, or power. They often threaten and intimidate. The interest-based approach focuses on satisfying both parties' core interests and avoids blaming. It avoids deeming someone right and someone wrong, and often they meet in the middle and trying and meet as many terms as possible, but can't always meet all of the wanted terms. Empowering leadership. Empowering leadership encourages independent action, opportunity thinking, teamwork, self-development, goal setting, and self-reward. Sources of power. So there's legitimate power, which is based on a person's holding of a formal position. The other person complies because of belief in legitimacy of power holder. Then there's reward power, which is based on a person's access to rewards, and the other person complies because of desire to receive rewards. There's coercive power, which is based on a person's ability to punish, and the other person complies because of fear of punishment. Expert power is based on personal expertise in a certain area, and the other person complies because of belief in power holders' knowledge. Next is referent power, which is based on a person's attractiveness to others, and the other person complies because of respect and liking for power holder. Informational power is based on power related to the extent and content of an individual's knowledge base. Network power is based on the breadth and depth of connections the person has in their professional and personal network. Then there's the reference page.